So I work for the school system, and we just came back to work yesterday. So
Oh,
I'm getting adjusted. I actually thought my first day back was today, and one of my colleagues texted me on Monday, said, "See you tomorrow." And I was like, "You won't see me tomorrow." And she said, "Well, that's what day we go back." So I went back a day earlier than I planned, and I haven't got over it yet.
okay. All right, excuse me, y'all. I'm kind of challenged, trying to type and talk at the same time. But I put my I'm Elliot Palmer, and I put my contact information in the chat. I am, just give you a little bit of my background. I am a person in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is, and I've not found it necessary to put any substance in my body in almost 9 years now.
Congratulations.
I am a full-time North Carolina certified peer support specialist. I'm also a North Carolina certified peer support trainer to train for peer support, train peer support specialist. I'm a RAP facilitator and an advanced level RAP facilitator. So not only do I conduct RAP trainings, I do the train the trainer classes.
What does RAP stand for? Is that an acronym? What does that stand
Yes,
for?
RAP, W-R-A-P, Wellness Recovery Action Plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Also a trainer of Recovery Coach Academy. So I train people to become certified recovery coaches also. Let's see, full-time peer support. So I do peer support. I have a caseload of peer support peers that I assist with reaching their goals in life and managing their symptoms of their diagnoses. I also I work for Recovery Communities of North Carolina, RCNC, as their training coordinator and consultant, put it that way. So I go around the state. I'm not sure if you all have one there or would like to establish a recovery community in Watauga County. But part of my job is to go around to the state, to the different recovery communities, and consult and train and encourage them to build in their recovery communities, do technical assistance with the different recovery communities around our state. What else?
Busy. That's a plenty.
That's a bunch.
Yeah, that is a lot of things that keep you busy, I guess. So, and you mentioned a recovery community. I don't think we have an actual group like you're talking about, or if we do, I don't know about it, but there are some different grants going on right now where people are working on. I know there's something at the health department that's a peer recovery specialist program, then a couple things, a program that works with the jail pretty closely and people coming into the jail and things like that. But I don't know if we've got the actual program that you're talking about. So,
well, yeah, so with the recovery peer support specialists, yeah, they're all over the state, working in the emergency rooms, working in the treatment centers, in behavioral health agencies. And so that's becoming very, very much popular, very much needed. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what a peer support specialist is, this is a person with lived experience that is at least a year in recovery from a mental health or a substance use issue. And they can become certified to work with others, those with mental health issues or substance use issues, and helping them achieve their goals and achieve the things they want in life, such as housing, employment, independent living skills, social skills, all of those things. So in other words, they're able to work with the person from the standpoint of been there, done that, versus I learned this in a book.
Right. And I hear a lot of good feedback about how much more effective those types of things are and how much more receptive people who are struggling with those issues are to someone with lived experience rather than the quote unquote expert who maybe learned most of their knowledge from a book.
Yeah, and the thing about it is the big barrier, as you all I'm sure know, of people receiving the mental health treatment they need and being, receiving services to deal with their past trauma and whatnot, is people engaging in the service, making the appointments, attending the appointments and the sessions. And so now you have a peer support specialist that's able to work with the person and, talk with them from, this is what helped me. This is how I got well. This is how I got better. And they're able to help that person connect with the different appointments that they need. They're able to get the services they need, provide, able to get them to the psychiatrist or get them to the therapist, or, helping them find ways to take their medication as they should. And, so it's a win-win situation. And then on the other flip side of the token, you've got the therapists and the psychiatrists and the clinicians that can't provide their service unless the peers show up or the patients show up. So the peer support specialist is that cog that makes the whole wheel work.
Yeah, I love that structure. Well, thank you for explaining all that to us. I'm interested in hearing more of your story. I know that you have shared before with like NAMI for one, and other people as well, I'm sure, some of your background and how you came to be where you are. So whatever part of your story that you're willing to share with us, if you could tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be here.
Okay, well, I'm willing to share it all with you all. Do you want to hear it?
We do.
Okay, so I started out in life just like every normal little boy. I was had a family, was well to do. I was a Cub Scout, a Boy Scout, a student council representative, the whole 9 yards, honor roll student. And somehow I always felt the need to try to fit in. And then my way to fit in was doing the things my other friends were doing, things such as drinking and smoking marijuana and just doing all the experimenting. And at first it was fun. We would do these things for fun. And somehow a shift happened along the way. And instead of, I'm gonna just say getting high, and that encompasses drinking and everything. Getting high to have fun, we found a need to get high in order to have fun. If you all can understand, at first we were getting high because it was fun. Then we were getting high in order to have fun. If you were going to the dance, or you're going to the prom, or you're going to the football game, it wouldn't, we had to have something to drink in order to have a good time. Even a date, get something to drink or something so we can have a good time on the date. And then later on, this progressed all into college. I went to college. I'm a proud Tar Heel. And I got there and there was another shift. And instead of getting high in order to have fun, I started getting high in order to feel normal. Mm-hmm. So I went from getting high to feel different to now I'm getting high to feel normal.
Yeah.
And that's where I see that line crosses over into addiction. And, and then so for many years following that, everything was based on my addiction first. So if there was a job involved, I need to find a job that would fit in with me getting high, fit in with my lifestyle, not fit my lifestyle around my job. And then there's another shift happened later on where my job started getting in the way of getting high. I would say things like, these people don't understand. They keep getting on me about being late, but they don't realize what I do for them. They don't know, that they need me. I don't need them. They're lucky I keep coming to work here every day. And my mind kept giving me all of these reasons till finally my mind gave me permission to quit the job. And the way I supported myself was through the sale of drugs. It made, I made it somehow made logical sense on paper, where I made more money being a drug dealer than I did being a financial analyst or a real estate agent. Some things only make sense when you're high, but that's what happened. And so I gave myself permission to quit. And for the next few years of my life, that is what I did. Mind you, as I want to just mind you, I'm saying I'm college educated. And I've been to 5 universities, but I still keep making these decisions that don't seem competent, that don't seem right. But they made perfect sense to me. So fast forward, during my lifetime, during my time of active use, I was at points, I was a kingpin, and then there were other points in my life where I was pigpen. I've been homeless. I slept in abandoned cars, abandoned houses. Let me take that back. They weren't abandoned because I was there. But I slept in dwellings that other people chose not to inhabit, or would dare not, or people deemed not fit for habitation by a human. Front porches, bus stops, you name it. And I couldn't understand, I would, some periods in my life where I would be wearing the same clothes for 2 and 3 weeks at a time. But my mind kept telling me that I was okay, that nothing was wrong. Everybody does this. But I didn't realize that it was just everybody that I hung around did that, not the whole world. I was in active addiction for over 35 years. And during that time, as I told you, times I was homeless, times I was okay for the moment, but never stable anywhere. I didn't have a job. I called myself, I wasn't unemployed. I was unemployable. You couldn't give me a job. You could give me a job, but I wouldn't show up.
Right.
So it wasn't a matter of not being able to work. I wouldn't. During this time, as I said, I was doing illegal activities to support myself, to support my addiction. And you can get away 1,000 times. Police only got to get lucky once. In my case, police got lucky quite a few times. I've been to over 15 different treatment centers and rehabs. I can't count the number of times I've been arrested. And each time I get arrested, they would try a new program, a new treatment for me to try to help me recover. I've been to DART. I don't know if you all have heard of DART, Drug and Alcohol Recovery Treatment. It's given by the state. The DART 30-day program, the DART 120-day program, the DART 90-day program, the DART 6-month program, DART in prison. I was one of the first 3 people that experimented with the drug treatment court program. So they would start experimenting with programs on me. But in any event, all the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put Elliot back together again. And so finally I went to prison. And that became, I had the last shift in my life. And everything in my life at this point, things that are normal for other people have become abnormal for me. And the abnormal stuff that people think of became normal for me. So things such as being part of my family, going to birthday parties and McDonald's and dating and having a job, those things were abnormal. Being arrested, going to prison, being beat up or being in part of acts of violence, all of that became normal. It was no longer even the community and my friends and family. Someone would ask about me and everybody would say, well, oh, you know where Elliot is. And like that was normal. I was in prison. That was my normal spot. Things like, oh, guess what? Elliot's out. He's at home. That was an event. So my life had flipped around. And I've been to prison 6 times. Given the state of North Carolina, 11 and a half years of my life on the installment plan. And I always got out and I always went to treatment. Those treatments I was telling you all about, those treatment programs, they were all drug treatment programs. And I would get out of prison, go to a drug treatment program, and then within a few months, some days, I was back using again. This last time in prison, I got to thinking, and I was sitting there and I thought about it, and I called my mother on the phone and I said, Mama, I've been doing some thinking. I said, this is my 6th time in prison. It's not like I don't know any better. You know, as I told you, I'm college ed. I've been to 5 universities. I said, but some reason I keep coming back to prison. I said, I think there might be something wrong with the way I think. And y'all know what my mama told me. She said, baby, you might be right. And that hurt my feelings so bad because your mother's always supposed to tell you, oh, you're going to be okay, you're fine. My mother told me you might be right. And so what happened different this time, I got in a treatment program that not only addressed my substance use issues, but it addressed my mental health issues. And, and through treatment of my mental health and my substance use, luckily I can say today I haven't been back to prison. Okay. But I hadn't realized that the trauma and all the things I was exposed to during 35 years of active addiction had been affecting my mental health. And so it's been a trying journey, but one that believe it or not, I wouldn't change because I learned a lot. So I don't know how much you want to hear.
No, I appreciate you sharing all that with us. And you're going to be getting into the people and events more that you changed your life. And I heard you say a treatment program that dealt with not only substance abuse issues, but mental health issues as well. And I'm just curious, was peer recovery specialists, did those exist at the time that you started making this last shift, or was that something that came along later? Did you have access to that?
I had access to it, but not in a formal sense. There were people in the last prison I was in. There were a couple of counselors in there that had lived experience, and they were doing a program in the prison. So from that aspect, I had peer support, someone with lived experience being able to talk to me, encourage me and tell me about, as I'm looking now, I'm able to look at them and say, wow, if you did it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. The peer support is relatively new, especially here in North Carolina. And one of the reasons for that is it was only a few years ago that peer support was approved by Medicaid as one of the services that they fund. So once that happened, then it became very popular.
Right. Yep. So you said one of the first things that happened was the treatment program that addressed both addiction and mental illness. And then what were some other things that played a key role in you changing the course of your life, other people or events?
Okay. Well, one of the first things was one of the, as I was telling you, one of the counselors inside the prison, a gentleman named Tony Hope from Greensboro. I remember him from my early years of active addiction. when he and I used to hang out together. And when I met him, I'm walking across the prison yard one day, and I see him coming across in a shirt and tie, and we recognized each other and got to talking. And he was telling me he had been 25 years clean at that time, and that he was one of the counselors for the drug program inside the prison. So he helped me get connected so that I could get into the drug program and be in that program for the on my way out of prison, actively participating in a program. Following that, when I told you all about the treatment program, it's a place called Southlight here in Raleigh, Southlight Healthcare. And there, as I said, I had a therapist, I had a psychiatrist, I had a primary physician, I had relapse prevention classes, DBT classes. So I was able to start, receive treatment for the whole person versus just a substance use issue. Now I have someone helping work with me on my mental health issues. And that started the ball rolling. And then encouragement by others to start helping people, helping others to find treatment, to helping others to become aware of mental health issues. And I found out that once I started dedicating myself to helping others, the blessings and things that came back on me were things I never dreamed of. And this was because I took the focus off myself and focused on helping others like you all.
I had 3 questions at once.
Okay.
Oh gosh, and I lost them all at the same time. I told you this is my first day back at work, so my brain's having to adjust.
Okay.
Treatment for the whole person. Oh, I was going to say, and a lot of the conversations that we have, these Wednesday conversations, often somebody will say, if I know someone who's dealing with the things that you were dealing with, how can I be a better support, more supportive, present in a way that's helpful for them rather than, continuing trauma. So can you speak at all to, do you feel like you just had to be in a place where those factors all came together, or was there something that you could have gotten earlier than you did? Like, how can people who are trying to support someone dealing with addiction or mental illness or both, how can we be more supportive in a more effective way?
Okay. Well, one thing is, the main thing is I know it's a difference when I'm helping peers and difference when I'm trying to help family or friends, because there's that personal connection. But one of the main ways is to just let the person know that you love them and try to connect them with the resources for the help that they need. Try to connect them with the area treatment centers, connect them with the area mental health providers, connect them with the warm line. I don't know, are you all aware of the warm lines?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm writing it down.
Let me see here. Okay. So I'm gonna put a number here in the chat.
Okay, thanks.
But the warm line basically is, how would you say, it's manned by peer support specialists. It's a number that's available 24 hours a day. And you have peer support specialists on the other end of the line, answering the line. So for instance, you may have heard of hotlines.
Mm-hmm.
And the hotline was when the situation is critical and the person's in a crisis, such as the hotline for suicide prevention hotline, the NA hotline, the AA hotline. The warm line is a line when this situation is warm. Here's a person starting to find themselves starting to go into a depression. Here's a person that's starting to exhibit some some of the symptoms of their past trauma, or someone faced with eviction, or someone looking for rental assistance or utility assistance or food assistance, they can call this warm line, or they just want to talk to someone. You can call the warm line. It's answered 24 hours a day. There's a peer support specialist on the other end of the line that answers the call. And whatever that person needs, whether to have someone to talk to, or they need resources, the peer support specialist has access to information about resources throughout our state. They can connect them with the resource they need, or even say in Watauga County, connecting with someone or some in Watauga County that can help that person get the help they need. So that would be the first place to start, calling that warm line, instead of family members trying to figure out what they think the person needs. Let someone that's been trained, or someone that's been through it themselves, help that person. And that's the hardest part about helping someone, is learning, is for me, is getting out of the way and getting my personal feelings out of the way, and helping that person get to the help they need.
That's a good point. We talk a lot about family members. So we had a traumatic event back here in the spring where we had some loss of life, and there's been a lot of conversations here since that time about how can I better help, how can I get this person where they need to go. And so I think it's a good point that sometimes the personal connection, it's this really fine line in my mind. The more I hear about the line between connection and being too involved. And
Right.
So just trying to figure out how to best be helpful. But I love the idea of, we all know mobile crisis or the 24-hour lines where you call if there's a crisis, but it's interesting to me that there's maybe something that you can call before that time, where you can maybe get some help to prevent going to that place. So I wrote that down, and I'll send that out to some of our email lists. And is that North Carolina wide?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. I've never heard of that before. That's really cool.
And even if they're looking for someone to receive services, say they want to find peer support, or they want to find a therapist, they want to find a trauma recovery group, whatnot, they can connect them with the different resources.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that with you. Somebody said, thank you for presenting. The work that you and other certified peer support specialists is making such a difference in our community. Like you said earlier, clients can connect with you in ways that they can't with us. You have more flexibility to meet basic needs. So this person writing this is a therapist in our community, to help meet more basic needs than we can, such as providing transportation or connecting to food and shelter support. And so another thing that I've always really liked about the peer support specialists that I've met is, like, you don't have to have an appointment necessarily for Thursday at 3. Like, if I'm in trouble right now, then I can call you right now.
Yeah.
And so that's a significant difference for someone who, when you're we don't usually schedule our crises for a certain day of the week. So that's a benefit for sure.
And please do not get me wrong. I want to thank all the therapists and clinicians on here for the work you all do. We're not a replacement. We're most of the therapists and that my peers have, the therapists and I, we all work together. And it works out. It's great. It's more beneficial to the peers, and it helps people achieve their goals more. But thank you all for the work that you do. I just try to make sure I get them to you.
Oh, that's a good point. Because you mentioned when you moved to Raleigh, you mentioned being in a program for the whole person that was, will you say those people again? I think you said doctor, psychiatrist, you named several people.
Yes, well, it's a place called Southlight Healthcare. I'm sure some of you may have heard of it, but in addition, they have a methadone, Suboxone clinic, but they also have their treatment program. And then if the treatment program, that's where you can get a primary physician, you can have a therapist, you have a psychiatrist, also relapse prevention groups, also therapy groups such as DBT, outpatient therapy, intensive outpatient, but it's there in all in one shell, so not only, was able to treat my mental health issues, but my physical issues, my emotional issues. So I was able to do everything. Because I mean, if you got a toothache that's rotten, then and that's hurting, and that's not any motivation for me to go attend some group. So now as my teeth are falling out, I'm not going to get the relapse prevention help I need, and then this has all got me twisting and turning. Now my mental health level is deteriorating, so I'm all falling apart. But say for instances like that, I was fortunate enough to go to a program that treated everything, and that it turned out, to me, it's successful. I haven't been arrested, and I've been out here succeeding.
Yeah, that's tremendous, and such hard work on your part too. And when you hear about a treatment program, or when I hear about a treatment program like that, and then hear about one that only tries to get you to stop using, to me, it's no wonder that some people can't succeed in that model, because you got so many other things going on that are contributing to your use and addiction. We had somebody on here one day, and she said, everybody thought all I needed to do was quit using, but the times when I was closest to suicide was when I was not using. Like there was other things happening. The using, people looked at me and thought the using was the problem, but the using was keeping me alive.
Yeah, and actually, and for myself, I found out the using was a symptom, of all the other things that was going on. And having gone through, maintaining my recovery, achieving recovery, or achieving wellness. I just like to say wellness. A lot of things I look at differently now. Even now, going around the state, and I sometimes stop at homeless camps and talk with individuals. And I can see the benefit in a homeless camp now. You say people living in the woods. The thing is, they're living somewhere. You got somewhere to operate from, versus out here wandering, no stability at all. And then that way they're able to get a chance to get the mental health treatment, to address their past traumas. And when we talk about trauma, trauma takes on so many forms. During my time of active addiction, trauma took the form of physical violence at times, whether it was myself receiving the violence or myself committing the violence. People talk about PTSD. PTSD from that lifestyle. A lot of people in active addiction or people trying to retrieve recovery from substances, people don't think about using trauma-informed practices or treating their past traumas. You've had to live contrary to everything that you were taught. Lie, cheat, steal, violence, being a victim of violence, all of those things. PTSD, was war. And then things such as, how do you go to prison 6 times? How much does it take to learn? And I thought something was wrong with me. Like I was a bad person. But, in the end, I found out I was a sick person that needed to get well. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a bad person that needed to get good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all of these things. So one of the things that peer support specialists do in our code of ethics is we always utilize, what we're supposed to utilize, trauma-informed practices with whoever we deal with. And just to have the basic assumption that trauma has occurred. So that's one of those things that will help with those family members and friends that you said, people that you want to help. So try to treat them with trauma-informed practices. And that way you can get them the help they need and not, how would you say, because you can't make anybody go back out and use, but me sitting there saying you shoulda, woulda, coulda can re-traumatize or re-victimize a person.
Right. What you said about operate from the assumption that trauma has occurred. So I'm a school social worker. We've been doing a lot of training the past 4 or 5 years in schools about universal care and treating everybody as if they come from trauma, because it doesn't hurt the ones who haven't come from trauma, and you're going to hit all the ones that have, and how you don't have to know every detail of everybody's story, just operate from that place. And so I like that you said that in the wording of that you operate from the assumption that trauma has occurred. And so just assume it and treat everybody with the same compassion and empathy, and it'll get to the people that it needs to get to.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you just mentioned you being working with school students.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the other programs I'm involved in with recovery communities in North Carolina is we just started a youth peer support program.
Wow.
And this is for youth ages 13 to 20. It doesn't have to be anything wrong with them. Just as you know, just being 13 to 20 is enough.
Oh my, yes. I've got a 17-year-old and a 22-year-old. So, and I was a 17-year-old, so I could testify to that.
And so what we're doing with them, especially now during the pandemic, you know, they're being displaced from school, their friends, being stuck with their family longer than they're used to. And they need support. They need that interaction. And so what we have is a 6-week program. It's a weekly Zoom meeting where myself and staff members meet with all of the youth together. They do that once a week, and they also get assigned a mentor that they meet with via Zoom or phone once a week. And this program is virtual. So it doesn't matter where the youth live. We have youth from Florida to Massachusetts.
Wow.
That participate, but we would love to have somebody, if you know any youth that was interested, as a incentive after the 6 weeks, they get a gift card. We also have the last meeting, we have a big pizza party. So I make sure everybody gets pizza delivered to them wherever they live in the country.
Oh, that's cool.
But please let me know, contact me if you have any youth that you know that might be willing to participate. My daughter's done it, my nieces and nephews, we had several youth that have done it repeatedly. They've done it once and asked could they participate again. But they get to meet other youth from all across the country and talk about those things that they get to get the correct answers, you know, from some of that misinformation that they might get from their friends. And just get to meet other people and talk about stuff that's important to them. It's all confidential, but please, if you all, you have my contact information, epalmer@rcnc.org.
Okay. Somebody wrote that sounds like a great program. They'll reach out to you for more information. That's our prevention specialist for the school system.
Okay,
and I
great.
agree with that. I've lots of experience in my family with teens and addiction. And I was just saying in the past day or two, how ironic it is that we take our population in our lifespan that has the most hormones and worst judgment and send them to high school and expect them to make career decisions. Like you could put a teenager in a box and they'd still be struggling with all the hormones and issues that they're dealing with, and the things that we expect them to navigate is just so ironic to me. So definitely think we can always use more support for that group. So we'll keep that in mind for sure. I love that idea. And pizza and gift cards. I don't know what else you could offer to a teen.
Yeah.
An incentive. Okay, so we've talked about your story. We've talked about some of the people and events that helped change your path. And so, and you've mentioned when we talk about how you maintain wellness, because I also like the idea of calling recovery wellness. And you mentioned helping other people, but what are some other things that you do? So 2 questions. What are some of the things you do to stay well?
Mm-hmm.
But a question I've been asking lately that I think is a little bit harder to answer, because everybody can give the list: sleep, eat, exercise, social. I'm interested in when you know you need to do those things. Like, it's so interesting to me how sometimes we get those signals that it's time to do something for ourselves and we decide to ignore those and just keep on going the way we are. So what are some of the things you do to stay well, but also how do you know when you need to do them?
Okay, so first of all, I have my RAP, my Wellness Recovery Action Plan. Not only do I teach RAP, but I live RAP. And in that, some of you can read about the RAP plan, just give you a little quick overview. In that, I develop a wellness toolbox with wellness tools in it that I use to maintain my wellness. I also develop a plan for how to recognize and name my triggers or stressors, and then come up with an action plan when I see those things happen. Or I also develop a way to identify my early warning signs that something is still bothering me and have an action plan. And then finally, I also have able to identify signs that things are breaking down or that situations got much worse. And I have action plans to address all these issues. So today I'm living more intentionally. One of the main, things I see, one of the barriers that I was able to identify, a trigger or stressor, is pride. And pride is a big prevention for a lot of people. Pride prevents me from going and asking for the help I need. Pride stops me from getting the sleep I need and taking a break because I'm supposed to be able to do this. I should know better. I'm stronger. And my pride will get in my way. And finally, I had to break it down and identify what pride really was and know pride for what it is. So pride, Pride, primary reason I die early.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I identified that. But so in my case, I say out here working with peers and helping others and dedicate my life to doing that. A lot of times I find myself neglecting or avoiding the things that I need. Things like going to the gym, things like seeing my physicians, things like taking a break, taking a vacation, having some alone time, learning how to pick, and this is very hard, pick a time of day to turn my phone off. Like not answer my phone, but to turn it off. And we got voicemail for a reason. Use my voicemail. That's a wellness tool.
I don't know if you can tell from my face, but that convicted me when it came out. I was like, wonder when the last time I turned my phone off. Like, I don't even think I remembered I could turn my phone off. I don't know when that was.
I had to start small. I would leave it in the car and just say, okay, I'll go get it in a little while. And I'll just leave it, because if I just intentionally turn it off, I couldn't do it. I just would leave it in the car and come back in an hour and go get it out of the car. But I do those things. I travel. I make sure I take vacations. I interview all of you. All friend me on Facebook, Elliot Palmer Jr. You'll see me somewhere. It might be Tuesday and I'm at the beach, and Friday I'm in Atlantic City. But I travel. And that's what I do for my wellness. But I also take time to get regular checkups, and I try to walk. Okay. I'm gonna just put that disclaimer. I try to walk and get a little exercise in. But the main thing is because, we're in the business of helping others and trying to instill hope in other people. And how can I give something to someone else if I don't have it myself? You can't pour water from an empty cup.
Yeah.
So I've got to find ways to instill hope and encouragement in myself so that I can do that for others.
We train about, when we're doing trainings in the school system, we train about wellness, and we've only been doing that for about 4 years. And so I'm 53. It wasn't until about 4 years ago that I was like, honestly, to be completely honest, I didn't start taking care of myself because it was the right thing to do. I did it because I couldn't tell other people to do it if I wasn't doing it.
There you go.
And so like whatever it takes, because now I take a little bit better care of myself than I did, but I definitely relate to the can't help other people if you're empty yourself. So I think that's one reason it fascinates me. Like, how do we know when it's time to do those things for ourselves? Because most of us are so good at taking care of other people and not the best at taking care of ourselves.
So that's why I encourage you all to contact me about maybe we can have a RAP seminar. And when I say RAP, I'm saying WRAP, because that's what helps me recognize those warning signs when I'm starting to have headaches, or I'm starting to forget things, or I start noticing those signs of burnout coming on. When I start getting that feeling of I don't care, then that lets me know it's time, Elliot, to do something, whether it be go fishing, just go to the park, go out to a restaurant or something. It's time to do something different for my self-care. And so, but I'm able to make a plan for that. You know, just as we sit here as counselors and therapists and make plans and treatment plans for other people, we need to make them for ourselves.
Right. I wrote down what you said about to be able to recognize and name triggers and stressors, recognize early warning signs that when things are breaking down. And I just thought, and we know this again from some of the training that we did in schools with students, and they would say to us, yeah, you're giving me all these ways to calm down, but I don't know when it's time to use them. Like, I don't know. There's
Right.
Especially for kids from trauma, you know, you're at your house to deny emotion, pay attention or support kind of things. And so I started realizing that even before we teach the calm down things, we have to teach how you know when to use those things. So I love the idea of all those different ways in that RAP and the wellness toolbox of helping you recognize when you need to do certain things. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and the thing about it, and with the youth and with any of us really, is we can't tell people what their signs are. We can help them recognize what they know to be their own signs, because who knows best what makes you feel good or bad? You do, right? So one of the things that the program is based on is everybody is the expert on themselves. I can't tell you that anything you say is wrong, but I may give you an alternative way to look at things.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so we've got about 10 more minutes. And if anybody has a question for Elliot or a comment that they would like to make, you're welcome to type those in the chat, or we don't have too many on today. If you'd like to unmute and ask him yourself, you're welcome to do that. I'm writing down another quote.
I see one comment I wanted to address.
Okay.
And it's a young lady that works at a trauma facility with children and youth, and she's had some of them say, I just really have an urge to use. And you're wondering, what do I say when a youth or child says that to me? First of all, I wouldn't brush it off like, oh, don't worry, that feeling will pass, and just act like their feelings are just insignificant, because that's a real feeling. So what I would do is I would help that youth. Okay, well, let's look at, so you have an urge to use. Can you help me understand why you feel that using is a good idea right now? You know, help them identify why they want to use, and what is it that they're feeling that makes them want to use right now, and why they think that using is an answer. And a lot of times that person or that youth will be able to work out what's really going on with them and realize in themselves, in talking to you, you know, realize how that urge to use, it really isn't the answer. But they recognize that is a real urge. So, and you'll help that person develop a strategy for when they feel that again, and you're not there.
Thank you for catching that, Elliot, because I didn't see that question. and so when talking to her about ways, helping them recognize certain things, triggers, when you say RAP seminar, is that something that you actually do where you go into a community and help people learn how to identify triggers? Is that something that actually exists?
Yes. That's what I go around the country doing. I'm a RAP facilitator.
Okay. And so what does that look like? Like, can you tell me a little bit more about what, is that something for the whole community? Is it so for one agency?
Well, it depends on how much time you all want to dedicate to it. You can break it up into an 8-week program of different sessions, short sessions each week. I do all day. I do a full day seminar, or 2 or 3 days seminar, or somebody just wants an overview. Say you got a youth group or you got a small group that wants an overview, and I do a 2-3 hour just overview. But it's the evidence-based program. The evidence-based program is, say, 8 weeks for 2 hours a week. But that can be condensed or catered to however you would like. But yeah, that's one thing. Give you an idea of how things have been going for myself. In the last 6 weeks, I've been in 5 different states. So, and that takes maintaining your own wellness in order to get through that.
Yeah, that's a lot of travel. Well, the day you talked to me on the phone a few weeks ago, you were in another state and gave me a little bit of time during your day, but you were preoccupied with some other thing, or occupied with some other things. So I appreciated you giving me that time when you were not, when you were traveling somewhere else. So any other questions or comments for Elliot? You can put those in the chat. I know there's so much you could share with us. You have a lot of experience in a lot of different things. Anything that you would like to share with us that I haven't asked, or some last words of advice for people who are maybe are listening, or any last thoughts?
I love what you all are doing. Please include me in your emails, or let me know what's going on for all your activities. I would love to get up there and meet everybody and connect with you all.
We would love that too. We have a huge conference in the spring. Last time we got to be together in person, we had about 600 people here, and then last year was virtual. And this year we're hoping to do a hybrid, half like virtual on Friday, in person on Saturday. But with the numbers the way they are, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself and plan too far out. So hopefully we can spend some more time with you in the future. We appreciate that. If you want to send Elliot a comment in the chat, I'll copy and paste those and email them to him so he can read them later when he's got some time. I know everybody really appreciates hearing from you. Thank you for trying to condense all of your experiences into just an hour. We really appreciate you spending this time with us.
Thank you all for the conversation. I really enjoyed it, and privileged to be here.
Well, thank you. And so I'll send you an email following up with some of the comments, and hope to get to see you again in the future. Good luck with what you're doing. It's important work, and congratulations on your years in recovery and sobriety, and wish good things for your future.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to turn off our recording.